Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Jaya. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Jai. Yashodanandana Brajajanna Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanna Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Jai Radha Madhava Jai Radha Madhava Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Srila Prabhupada Jai Om Srimad Paramahamsa Parivrajata Sri Srimad Bhagavatam Aravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Shri Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Gopinath Shyamakunda Radhakan Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Sri Mathura Dham Ki Jai Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mahi Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Sangha Veda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Yugadama Nam Sankirtan Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru Gauranga. Glories to Sri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. This morning we read from Sri Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, entitled The Sons of Drona Punished. Text 15 and 16. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That's text 16 on the board. I'll read 15. Mata Sushnam Nidhanam Sutanam Nisam Yoghoram Pati Pyapamana Tadarudhadvapa Kalu kalaksitam santvayan aha kiritit amali. Translation: Draupadi, the mother of the 5 children of the Pandavas, after hearing of the massacre of her sons, began to cry in distress. With eyes full of tears, trying to pacify her in her great loss, Arjuna spoke to her thus. We chant this responsively. Text 16. Tada suchaste pramrijami padre Tada suchaste pramrijami padre Yad brahma bandho shira attatayana Yad brahma bandho shara atatyayana Gandhiva mukter vishikher upare Gandhiva mukter vishikher upare Tvav trakturamya Yachnasya Siddhartha Putra Chakramya Yachnasya Siddhartha Putra Tada Shuchaste Pramrijami Badre Yad Brahma Bandho Shira Atatayana Gandhiva Mukte Vishikhe Rupare Rakramya Yachnasya Siddhartha Putra Tada Suchaste Pramrijami Badre Yad Brahma Bandho Shura Atatayana Gandhiva Mukte Vishikhe Rupare Rakramya Yachnasya Siddhartha Putra Mataji. Please repeat, tada. At that time only, Suchaha, tears in grief, Te, your, Brahmajami, shall wipe away, Bhadre, O gentle lady, yet, when, Brahmabandhu, of a degraded Brahmana, Shiraha, head, Atatayana, of the aggressor, Gandhiva Muktai, shot by the bow, named Gandhiva, Vishikhai, by the arrows, Uphare, shall present to you, Tva, yourself, Akramya, riding on it, Yat, which, Snasyasi, take your bath, Dagdaputra, after burning the sons. Translation, O gentle lady, when I present you with the head of that Brahmana, after beheading him with arrows from my Gandhiva bow, I shall then wipe the tears from your eyes and pacify you. Then, after burning your sons' bodies, you can take your bath, standing on his head. Please repeat, O gentle lady, when I present you with the head of the Brahmana, after beheading him with arrows from my Gandhiva bow, I shall then wipe the tears from your eyes and pacify you. Then after burning your sons' bodies, you can take your bath, standing on his head. Hare Krishna. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. An enemy who sets fire to the house, administers poison, attacks all of a sudden with deadly weapons, plunders wealth, or usurps agricultural fields, or entices one's wife, is called an aggressor. Such an aggressor, though he be a Brahmana, or so-called son of a Brahmana, has to be punished in all circumstances. When Arjuna promised to behead the aggressor named Ashvatthama, he knew well that Ashvatthama was the son of a Brahmana. But because the so-called Brahmana acted like a butcher, he was taken as such, and there was no question of sin in killing such a Brahmana's son, who proved to be a villain. End of purport. Om Gyanam Tanandasya Gyanam Gyanam Sarakaya Chakshuramritamna Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namaha Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nevishesha Shandavari Bhasyata Satharine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translations again. Draupadi, the mother of the 5 children of the Pandavas, after hearing of the massacre of her sons, began to cry in distress with eyes full of tears. Trying to pacify her great loss, Arjuna spoke to her thus, O gentle lady, when I present you with the head of that Brahmana, after beheading him with arrows from my Gandhiva bow, I shall then wipe the tears from your eyes and pacify you. Then after burning your sons' bodies, you can take your bath, standing on his head. Hare Krishna. quite heavy language here. But this is the Kshatriyas, they speak like this sometimes. Of course he starts off, "Oh gentle lady, when I present you with that villain's head, after we do the funeral rites for your children, then you can stand on his head and take your bath." Haribo. So this was anyway, this is how Arjuna is going to pacify a Drupadi in a great anguish and a great loss. This Ashwatthama, he was as we sit here, not a very nice person. It was he who went into the enemy camp at night when everyone was sleeping, and he was actually it was the end of the war. All the Kauravas were defeated, and just a few left, and they were lamenting, and it was night time, and he couldn't sleep, and they were resting under a big tree, and in the tree there were some birds sleeping. Then a big owl came and started to eat the birds while they were sleeping. And the feathers and stuff was falling down. So then Ashwatthama got a brainwave. Why don't we do the same thing? We can't defeat them man to man. So then I believe he worshipped Lord Shiva, and an apparition of Lord Shiva actually appeared inside him. It became tremendously powerful and ferocious. Of course, the other Kauravas, when he told them of the plan, they didn't want anything to do with it. The Kshatriyas, you can't do that. Kshatriya, face to face, you fight with an equal. To kill sleeping persons is not their dharma. But he assumed this terrible form and just slaughtered all of the remaining Pandavas' army single-handed. Well, he said, "When I'll go in their camp, you stay outside. Anyone who runs away, you shoot them with your arrows when they come out." So like this way, and then they killed. It's a destiny for everyone to be killed. Do we hear that when he brought the 5 heads of the Pandava's sons to? Or does that come later? I was just told to give this class a little while ago, so I didn't do so much. Is that later then? He presented the heads to Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra, as you know, he's blind, and he took the heads and he crushed them with his hand, and he said, "These are not the Pandavas." He said, "You couldn't do that with a Pandava's head." So he was really upset, and he's dying. The Pandavas were victorious, and they told him that they killed the Pandavas, and everything was over. Quite gross behavior here, but as I say, all is fair in love and war. That's the Kshatriyas don't mind this kind of thing. Right, during the battle of Kurukshetra, there were like rivers of blood and there was arms and floating around, and different limbs of the bodies and helmets, and they looked like sharks and different aquatics, and the weak, the real catchers, smelling all that blood and seeing that, they got enlivened, they got fired up, and the weak in heart, they became nauseous and wanted to leave. So the catcher has to see all these things, has to kill. Prabhupada mentions here the 6 aggressors that can be killed. One who administers poison, attacks you with deadly weapons, plunders your wealth or the agricultural fields, entices one's wife. So it says these 6 aggressors, they can be killed. And I think it's Manu Samhita or Chanaka. You can read that. Those kind of 6 aggressors can be killed because, and especially being there's no injunction for killing a Brahmana. This will be explained a little later on. Krishna told him, Arjuna, to kill him, and Draupadi, being compassionate, said, don't kill him, because I know what it's like. I just lost 5 sons, it's heartbreaking. And if you kill him, his mother will have to experience the same pain. So she, being a soft-hearted woman, asked him to resist, even though he killed her sons. When the heads of the so-called Pandavas were presented, it was the Pandavas, not the sons of the Pandavas, they were presented to Duryodhana. That was from the house of lack, when they invited the Pandavas, the Kauravas invited the Pandavas to stay in a nice place in a forest area with a very highly inflammable house, which they were going to set on fire. But Vidura told them in a cryptic message, a coded way he spoke. They understood that there was great danger, and they escaped. They made a tunnel. Then when the house was set alight, there was a maidservant. She had 5 sons. They were sleeping there. And that's the ones he took. So they were all frustrated. They lost the battle. Even though they had such a huge army, but because Krishna had taken the side of the Pandavas, they were successful. When Krishna said that he wouldn't fight in the battle. Like Balaram also said he wouldn't fight. He had very good relationship with the Kauravas and Duryodhana. They were so. Balaram went on a pilgrimage. Krishna said, I won't fight. He said, but I'll be on one side, my army can be on the other side. What do you want? So then Arjuna and Duryodhana, they went to Krishna very early in the morning. So Duryodhana thought, I'll get there first, so I can ask him first. But then he saw Arjuna was there. And Krishna was sleeping. So Duryodhana stood right next to his chest, and Arjuna stood at the Lord's feet when he was laying down. And so I think was the first one he sees. They can have first choice. So Duryodhana was very anxious to have the first choice of Krishna's huge army, so he was standing right there. But Krishna didn't. He opened his eyes and he just looked straight, and then he saw Arjuna. So Duryodhana was very disappointed. So he asked Arjuna, "What you want, me or the army?" So Arjuna said, "I'll take you." And Duryodhana, wow, what a fool! He has a big army, and he's taking one person. He's not even going to fight. Krishna's not even going to fight. So this is the example of material calculations. You try to calculate everything materially, but spiritual life is not like that. Krishna's not like that. He's as he explains in the Bhagavad Gita in his Vibhuti Yoga chapter, that his opulence is explaining all the wonderful, great things in life, in the world, in the universe. But he said all these things are just a spark of my actual splendor, just an insignificant a small part of it. Not insignificant, but a very small part. So these stories here, they're compiling these. Vasudeva he's undergone meditation now, and he's about to reveal this Bhagavatam. It's just actually probably just this chapter starts, right? The 7th. He starts off telling the story. This is how this, after the war had finished, and he's taking it from here, presenting Krishna, or as his guru instructed, Narada Muni instructed, you've in all your other literatures, they're okay, but you failed to describe about the Supreme Personality of Godhead too much. So taking this as his guru's instruction, this is a reason why he never felt complete satisfaction inside, that is Vyasadeva. So then he compiled this Bhagavatam with the idea of making Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the forefront of everything. Krishna, Vishnu. So then the Bhagavatam will it's full of these narrations of and this is about, here we're talking about killing and gross things, but it's Arjuna is a friend of Krishna. Krishna is going to advising Arjuna to kill him. Krishna was advising Arjuna to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna didn't want to, because it was a fratricidal battle. But Krishna incited him to fight. And he used some of these examples in about how his wife was insulted by Karna when Arjuna was hesitating to kill Karna, because Karna was unarmed, and that's against the Kshatriya rules to kill an unarmed person. You have to wait. So, but Krishna advised him, kill him. And he hesitated to kill him. But then Krishna had to remind him, oh yeah, what about your sons? What about, you're talking of Dharma and, following rules. What about this? What about Ashwatthama? What rules did he follow? So these stories, all these different stories, they're appealing like just like the Mahabharata and other Puranas. They're for less intelligent people in Kali Yuga who can't understand the Vedanta Sutra. So then it's put down in story form, because everyone likes stories, right? Everyone likes to hear a story. So then there's stories about, exciting stories, wars are very exciting, romance, there are all these stories, the politics and, the best things, the best stories are the killing stories, or the dangerous stories, like this one, and the romantic ones, because that appeals to the living conditioned souls, because they're the two main focuses in life. We're looking for protection, we're fearing. That's a major thing in life. How to overcome this fearful situation that we're in. Therefore, we're always making programs for the future. We're thinking of how to improve our future. This is the main way we spend our life. But the real purpose is to enjoy it. So then, the best way to enjoy, they say, is love, is the best enjoyment. So, romance, love, and then there's, on this other side is the excitement of, the death comes very close, very, very powerful. Death is very powerful. The power of life and death is the greatest adrenaline. Because if you have the power of life and death, you're almost God, right? Almost. Your life is in my hand. It's a very great. The adrenaline is very great. Hare Krishna. This is a material world that we're living in. So all these different narratives they're given like that. So, but woven in those particular stories, or the stories are woven around what about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and how those that actually surrender to Krishna, people to Krishna, they always come out successful. And those who are inimical towards Krishna, or those who have surrendered to Krishna, they're always lose. So it's just to help us to understand what is the greatest benefit in life. If you want actually to stop the fear, if you want the greatest pleasure, then it's Krishna. Because Krishna is feared by fear personified. Mrityo namamiham. And Krishna is also the reservoir of pleasure. So those two desires that we have, the conditioned souls have, they find their fulfillment, their excellence in Krishna. That means the greatest happiness and the greatest sense of security. Krishna's friends walked into Aghasura's mouth. It could be a cave, it's actually a demon. It's a big snake. Anyway, let's go. Who cares? Krishna's here. Even Krishna was amazed at this. So in between all this, then it gets ingrained that we should actually surrender to Krishna, take advantage of these stories, and follow in the footsteps, make the same decisions as these devotees here have taken, and then their success stories. Why not follow those? Of course, this is it's a history. It's a factual history, but it's kind of it's transcendental if it's concerning Krishna. If Krishna is on this planet, and you're on the planet when he ever died, it's not an ordinary birth. So no one is ordinary person. Everyone goes back to Godhead in the battle of Kurukshetra, everyone went back to Godhead because everyone saw Krishna. So it's not an ordinary thing to take birth when Krishna's taking birth in the material world. So you can understand these are not ordinary personalities. This Ashwatthama, he's a butcher, kills people at night, a child killer, a serial killer, child killer, a horrible person. And what happens to him in the future? What is his, what's his role next time? Not Indra, Vyasadeva, yeah. Topmost sage. Of course he's going to suffer in between. So Ashwatthama is actually still alive in some forest, and he has a very deformed, ugly body, and he has some kind of diseases like tuberculosis, and his bad smell. He's horrible looking, and nobody will go near him. You go away. So he lives like that for hundreds and thousands of years. So he's going to, on a material platform, you can say he's using up all his karma. He's paying for that. So then at the other end, then he comes out as Vyasadeva, the great sage Vyasadeva. So, see, everyone is they're all great, just actors acting for a certain time, and then they change role when the drama's over. They change roles, and a new drama begins. And it's a similar drama at every time when Krishna appears. It's a similar activities. The blueprint. There's some change in details, but he carries on. His avatars come. A slight difference, variation, but more or less the same thing. So this is the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's actually transcendental. But here Arjuna is pacifying his wife. She's also Kachi. Don't worry. She's crying. Don't worry. He's putting his armor on and he's getting his weapons, his most ferocious weapons. And he said, don't worry. When I come back, he's also angry. When I come back, when I bring you his head, then you'll be pacified a bit. And then after we do the funeral rites, we cremate the bodies of the sons. Then you have to take a purificatory bath, right? After you go to a cremation, then you're supposed to take a bath. So you can take your bath standing on his head. It seemed to work. She was pacified her. But then when it came to it, she was there. He brought him back. He was going to behead her in front of Drupadi. But then she had a change of heart, thinking of his mother, knowing she will have to suffer on all that. She's faultless also. So that compassion of nature, the emotional side of the ladies, they have that strong emotional side, came out at that time. And so what to do? Krishna says, kill him. She says, don't. Krishna says, kill him. She says, don't kill him. So then they devise a way of killing him, but not killing him. It's great. We'll hear how they do that. Because there's actually no injunction for killing a brahmana. Even when we circumambulate Tulsi, Yanikani, Japapani, Brahmahatitani, Ja, even you get relief from the sin of killing a brahmana. That was a prayer. But it means there's no injunction for killing the brahmana. It means to insulting a brahmana. or trying to defame a Brahmana. So what to do? The injunction is there, but the argument, Arjuna's argument is, well, if he's, Prabhupada's elaborating on when you shouldn't kill a Brahmana, but then the Brahmana should act like a Brahmana. If he's acting like a butcher, then he's a Sudra or less, right? He's not following the. So then, therefore, it's not considered. It's okay to kill him, and everyone will agree. But Draupadi didn't want his mother to suffer also like that. And so then he gets a chance to stay on, and then in the next act, in the next scene, then he becomes Vyasadeva, change of roles. But not a very pleasant life he's living right now, I would imagine. Of course, who knows what. But it's just to show us that you got to take the material world seriously. The rules are there. Everything you do is a reaction for it. So if you don't want to live a terrible condition for hundreds and thousands of years, you don't do these kind of things. That's the message is there. So we're getting all this information, this knowledge, but it's in a palatable way. It's in story form, because people like stories. They like to hear the stories. But within that, in the stories, there's some spiritual benefit. But Bhagavatam is all spiritual benefit, somehow or other, because it's directed directly at Krishna. In the other Puranas and the things, there's other scriptures, there's different slight mention of Krishna and the benefits of worshipping Vishnu. But mostly, as it said, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas are mainly dealing with the modes of nature, because that's what people are interested in. How to live an easier life, right? How to make our life more happy and less disturbing. That's what mainly people want in the material world, because it's a difficult place, it's disturbing, and there's not much happiness. That's how it's created by Krishna. Dukkalaya sasritam. So that's what people are interested in, so that's what the Vedas mainly talk about. But within that being free from distress and happy in the material world, there's some spirituality. So we, by following that or hearing that or coming into contact with that, then we get some sukriti, which builds up. So when the sukriti is enough, when you have enough sukriti, spiritual piety, then you can understand transcendence. But Bhagavatam is all transcendental, because it's all really directly focused on the Lord Himself, connected with the Lord Himself. So that's why the Bhagavad Purana, the Srimad Bhagavatam is called the spotless, or the topmost Purana, because it's only in essence it's only concerned with pure unalloyed devotional service to Krishna. That's how it starts off. So then it goes on 12 cantos, long story. But by regularly hearing these, then just by hearing them, because Krishna is absolute, just by hearing his pastimes, this is, we're in contact with Krishna, or the spiritual energy. So this is it purifies us at the same time as it's spiritualizing us. The purification is a secondary aspect of it. So it's called anartha nivriti. So as those anarthas dissolve, then what's left? Then yourself, the pure self, is left, because in essence we are pure Satchitananda. So that will gradually become prominent by hearing. Chaitodapana marjan, hearing, then repeating Krishna stories and meditating on these stories and contemplating them. So this is it, and one becomes a transcendental devotee of Krishna. We hope sooner than later. So this is the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Mayapur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Any comments, questions? Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.